Surviving Sister Wives contains adult content that may not be suitable for Latter-day Saints or sinners. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to Surviving Sister Wives.
I'm Corey.
And I'm Carly. And book club is back, but we're starting a new book.
This one's not over a decade old. This one's brand spanking new, hot off the press.
Okay, but we are going to talk about some things that were in the decade-old book. So what's old is new again.
Well, what we finished out with the end of Becoming Sister Wives last week ended up being a very topical tie-in to the beginning portion here of Christine Brown Woolley's Sister Wife, a Memoir of Faith, Family, and Carly set the book down so I can't see it, and Finding Freedom.
Finding Freedom.
There we go.
You don't have that memorized already?
No, it's a long subtitle with a lot of F and F-ing.
I am very excited to talk about this. I'll say the first chunk of the book. So today we're going to be covering chapters 1 through 12.
Also known as pages 1 through 93, or if you're listening on the audiobook, tracks 1 through 15.
What did you think about Christine being the narrator of the audiobook? Because we have the physical book and we've been listening to the audiobook.
I liked hearing it in her voice. If I was just reading it, it would have been different emphasis, or I would have taken some things a different way, I think. And so it was interesting to hear her kind of make emphatic points at different parts in the book that I wasn't really expecting.
I started reading the physical copy before the audiobook came out, and what I'm impressed with is how much her voice came through in the book, that if you don't have the audiobook to listen to, I feel like you get a similar experience reading the book. I get what you're saying. Like, you actually get to hear what she's emphasizing, or anything that she wrote that maybe has a little humor in it.
Yeah.
She reads it a little bit as a joke.
To be fair, we kind of know Christine at this point.
It's true.
We've spent some time with her.
You don't really need to hear her voice. You can have your own internal monologue of her voice as you're reading.
A little bit, yeah. So, like, depending on your exposure to the show, my main takeaway, too, was as we were reading it, as we were listening to it, I was thinking about how even if I wasn't a fan of the show, even if I hadn't watched the show, this would be interesting. This is an interesting autobiography just from the standpoint of a book, standalone story in and of itself.
Well, then we're going to go back to Barnes & Noble and tell the employee who very much judged me for picking up 2 copies of this book that it is very good.
It's very good. New York Times bestseller on the way, probably.
She does narrate rather slowly.
You know, I wish there was...
for us.
Yeah, so like in the podcast version on Spotify, you can do like a little speed ramp. So like 1.5 or like 1.2 time. Usually I do like a 1.2 for a podcast just to give it a little boost. There was not an option for the audiobook, so...
Maybe that's just because we were listening to it on the TV.
Maybe, yeah, because it was on technically through the Roku app, which isn't the best Spotify experience, if we're being totally honest. But yeah, what are we getting into? We have a couple of different topics at the start of the book. Obviously, starting at the very beginning, you got to jump in with Christine's early life, some family history.
Yeah, that's funny because I do think some people were a little bored by the beginning of the book where she's giving all the background of her family and the history of Ob. But like you said, it is an autobiography, which means we're going to start from the beginning of her life.
You know, for us, it's a repeat. It's a rehash, but not the one that we're familiar with on the podcast necessarily.
Different flavor.
Different kinds.
There was a mention of gardening, of how she and Janelle used to garden together.
Yes.
But
garden variety gals.
I think that if they had been doing gardening in the way it's known today, maybe they would have bonded a little sooner.
That could have been, yes. Or it could have gone horribly wrong. Just absolutely terrible from the start.
I was kind of disappointed that when she's talking about her upbringing and the group that she was raised within, she really stopped short of calling it a cult.
There was no, it was like, if you want to call it a cult, Because, like, here's my experience with it. I lived in fear. I thought the world was, well, not lived in fear. I lived with fear. There's a distinction here that happens. And then also, I thought the world was going to end when I was 15 because that was what I was taught in my church.
Well, and I was comfortable in this small insular community, and I feared the outside world, but not a cult.
Not a cult to Christine. Not enough to be a cult.
Right. Isn't that a bit of a disappointment that we maybe haven't really gone back and really unpacked a lot of that?
This was my fear when she jumped into, or what appeared to be jumping into, a relationship with one David Woolley very shortly after her divorce. I didn't think Christine had done enough of the deconstruction work to kind of get to the root of herself before she started adding someone else into the mix, which was why I was very concerned with David when he first made his appearance.
You know, maybe it could also be because it would be a really big deal since we know
big deal.
Since we know, Christine is this modern day Princess Diana of Ob. For her to come out and say that the group is a cult, I would imagine that would send shockwaves through the community.
Well, she still has a lot of ties back to that. There's a lot of family, a lot of the people that she knew, that she grew up with, that she experienced life with, are still involved in it in some way, shape, or form. So I feel like that's another distancing thing. She doesn't want to try to make any waves here necessarily. It's not like, who was that one lady from King of Queens? She had that book where she was coming out about the Scientologists.
Scientology.
Yeah, so that was like a whole expose sort of stance on it. I can't remember her name.
Lisa Rinna? Nope.
I don't know.
Nope.
Is that somebody else? That's somebody else.
Everyone's screaming. I don't care. I hated King of Queens.
I know you did. I don't know why you did. Eyes are getting weary. Back is getting tight. I did not like the theme song, but I know pretty much every single word. I don't know why. It's because I watched that show a decent amount.
Wow.
On reruns. I liked Jerry Stiller. He's great.
Okay. It was kind of crazy to be like, we're not in a cult, but also my grandpa Roland was murdered when I was 5.
For having different views and
for being a false prophet, according to a rival group.
A rival sect. Which anytime there's a rival sect who's calling out hits, either you're in the mob or you're in a cult. Some gangland sort of activity that's happening. The thing
that would kind of also add to the cult category for me is that he's murdered by the wives of Ervil LeBaron.
Which is the perfect crime in the mid-50s because, as we know, women were incapable of murdering anyone prior to Eileen Wuornos, I believe.
This would have been the 70s, right? Because it's when Christine's 5. I just don't want to give any false information about timelines.
I'm sorry. I was reading some of the other times stamps that were in there. Something about, maybe it was like the church was formed in the 50s or something. 55.
To be honest, I've really forgotten a lot of the history part of this. That's not really the thing that I was here for.
A lot of numbers flying around.
I know that that's really some people's jam, is learning about the early years of OB and a lot of the history of their group. Not so much our thing.
Didn't really land over here. Sorry. The stuff you need to know is how similar Christine's approach to public school was, because she was introduced to public school the same time I was, in 3rd grade. What does that mean? There's a similarity there.
Were you raised in a cult?
Not technically, no. I mean, depends on what you define as a cult, right? For me, a lot of religions in general are just socially acceptable cults.
What was your experience like going into public school in 3rd grade? Was that scary, not having done it before?
I was very excited for the social exposure. So I didn't have a secret that I needed to keep when I was out in public. I think what I learned at public school was a lot of kids throw up at public school. That was the main thing that I learned.
Doesn't happen so much at home.
Not so much at home school.
Not as many germs.
And then definitely not at private school either, because if a kid is sick, they just stay home.
Hashtag privilege.
Yeah, pretty much.
In 3rd grade, her dad sits her and her siblings down and says, you're going into public school. You can't let anybody know that we are a polygamous family. That's a lot to put on a 3rd grader, is that now you're going to have to figure out how to lie about your entire family structure to everyone that you meet.
especially combating the direct lessons that she's learning where they're singing songs about how you should never tell a lie. There's never a reason to lie. And Christine's like, well, sometimes. I mean,
your dad might marry another wife and you have to lie so that you don't get broken up like my grandpa's family did.
Sometimes you have to lie to the U.S. government. Sometimes that's a necessity. It happens.
Sometimes you have to lie to yourself, which is what a lot of this book's going to be about.
That becomes a coping mechanism, yes.
So living with fear versus living in fear is something that she wants to differentiate because she's trying to make it clear that she was not afraid of anyone in her group, of anyone at home. She really just feared the outside world and the consequences of people finding out that her family was polygamous.
And the ultimate impending judgment day that was looming around her 15th birthday.
That too. Yeah.
Which, I mean, that just becomes a form of control as well, where, hey, don't worry about going to school. You're not going to need college book learning when the rapture takes place.
You know, I did respect that Rex made sure all of the girls went to school and got a college education, or at least some.
He had the same rule as Janelle, where as long as you go to college, you don't need to finish college.
Just go at some point.
Just step foot on a campus.
Were you surprised that Christine lived with roommates?
That was surprising, yes.
She went to community college, she moved out, and she had roommates.
And then the weird part was she had a similar experience where this seems to be a regular thing where people go to college and then they end up with a roommate who is like dead set on knowing every single detail about where this other person is going. They don't know each other. They're not related familially or anything, but then you become like parentified by this person. It's absolutely bizarre. But the same thing happened to my sister in college too. Very strange.
My friend's sister had a roommate like Meri that flipped out on her if she didn't vacuum lines into the carpet.
Oh, you need a good line.
And then I believe there was an interaction where she tried to stop her from going out the door. And that was the day that they had to get the RA involved to move out.
Well, I mean,
let us know your roommate nightmare stories.
Yeah, it's, I don't think Christine had that happen. It was basically just, I'm not going to do that. Just so you know, I'm not checking in with you. I'm going to go do what I'm going to do.
Roommates doesn't control me.
Pretty much, basically. But maybe she learned a little bit of that from her mom. Her mom, Annie, seems to be like the hero of this book so far.
When are we going to get Annie dropping her autobiography? Because I got to tell you, the beginning of this book, that's what it made me want. I want to read that.
I want her story now.
There's a lot more, I believe, about Annie as we get further and further into the book. So I'm excited about what else we're going to learn about her because she kind of sounds like a badass.
Yeah, a little bit. She's the feminist mom. She's also the mom where it was like a little more lax. You could kind of have a good time, party house, sort of. Was that the general consensus
She
there?
was into bending the rules.
Or like completely disregarding some rules in some ways too, because I loved her assessment where it was like, well, every religion is right. And then it was like, well, a lot of religions will disagree with that point initially there, Annie. So that's going to be a tough sell to just say, you know what, every religion is right, exactly as you're brought up. And wherever you're born regionally, that's where God meant for you to be and meant for you to believe that because it's all the same stuff. It all goes to the same place.
I'm kind of going to critique, though, when she said, but this is the religion for you because this is the religion that you were raised in.
Yeah, I think that was like a rationalization process for Annie. I would like to dig into that mentality a little bit more. I have lots of questions about that because it seemed like a way for Annie to rationalize, I have no control over getting out of this circumstance myself because I'm meant to be here. So it's kind of a way for her to be okay with where she is.
We need Annie's deconstruction story since we're not going to get it from Christine.
Correct. Yeah. And I mean, there's still time. I mean, maybe Christine can get to that process as well eventually, but it doesn't seem to be a priority right now.
I also really liked that she would say, well, let's look at the character of the men around us.
Yeah, not just listening blindly to what's being told by people who are technically in charge leaders of a church, leaders of the organization.
Are they worthy of us listening to them?
Yes.
Was the subtext of that.
I like that.
Do you think that this was a valuable lesson to Christine? Because I do think maybe the hope there was not only to keep them from blindly listening to, men in this patriarchal society, but also as you're looking for a life partner, really looking at who that person is and their integrity and who they are. And we didn't really get a good one with Kody Wynn Brown.
No, and it also explains a lot of the animosity between Annie and Kody, where Kody always was kind of leery of Annie.
Yeah, I was going to say, he always felt really sus around her.
It seemed
and
like...
they leaned on it was because she left the church.
Yeah, like that she divorced and then she is no longer part of the religion. And that's what he's uncomfortable with, but is accepting.
But is it maybe because Annie sees through a lot of the bullshit in the veneer?
Yeah. Where does Truly get it from?
You know what? I love the idea that maybe they're like a little coven. Annie, Christine, and Truly.
I like it.
They have a higher power.
Let's get Gwen in there too. Just mix it up.
You have to be able to see. You have the power. Because we know Truly has it.
Oh, definitely.
With no thank you, Daddy. She clocked that man.
Well, there's a reason why you should be questioning the leaders in the church, because sometimes there's ulterior motives that are involved as well. Christine points that out, where right around the time when Utah was going for statehood, that was when the Mormon leaders at the time were realizing, the United States federal government does not like polygamy. We practice polygamy. We would like statehood, though, so let's not practice polygamy anymore.
We have a revelation that all of a sudden that's not something that we're supposed to be doing.
Very convenient timing, which I think if that was in the late 1800s, that was one of the other times that the Mormons predicted the end times as well. And I think that just kind of came and went. And so then it was
as they usually do.
As they usually do. And so that was another moment of like, well, we need to change things up. A little shake up here.
I can totally understand, though, how they ended up having all of these fractured parts of the church that ended up forming these other groups that continued to live polygamy, because that doesn't really make sense, right? You would be thinking like you said, that's rather convenient that all of a sudden we're deciding that's not something we're going to do when that's a real big stipulation for us being able to join the union.
We have decided to join the union is what it becomes. Yeah, in some ways it's like, does it become like we're not practicing polygamy anymore, wink wink sort of exchange? Because some people picked up that way, because then they were saying, yes, I still chose to live this principle, and it is very important as part of the religion. We made that abundantly clear, but we have to say that we're not on board with it so that we can get statehood, but we can still do it in private, right? So then you get kind of mixed signals based on individuals' interpretations of what this revelation is.
You want to move into finally meeting Kody?
Yeah, because
that's what we're all here for. That's the story that we want. We want her to start spilling the tea on what it was really like living in this family and what Kody was really like when the doors close.
Tale as old as time. If you guys missed our Let's Talk About It last week, it was a rehash and it was a wild ride. Let me just tell you that up front.
Was it called Don't Tell the Bride? I don't even remember now.
I think that was the name of the show.
It's a show in the UK. Amazing.
Incredible.
We need an iteration of it here.
Spectacular stuff. I'm finding all sorts of weird UK shows now, too, that I've been sending clips to Carly. So there might be some more UK rehash shows out there, too, that we might be getting into. But we'll stay tuned for that. But as far as Kody and Christine's courtship, we already got a little bit of this. We had our 101, the fake version in Becoming Sister Wives, where there were some gaps in the story a little bit here and there that left us wondering, pondering, questioning. And there were a few answers that were provided in Christine's rendition here.
I feel like reading Becoming Sister Wives before this book was like preparing for a pop quiz a little bit. It was like summer reading before you get into class. And this is the real stuff we're going to get into now. This is the advanced lesson.
Yeah, that was the 101. And now this is, we're in the thick of it now.
Kody comes on to the scene when Christine's 18. And as we know, everyone's obsessed with him because he's good looking, enthusiastic, and never shuts up. I guess that's another way to say charismatic.
Overly charismatic, though. He's doing well with the church crowd. Can we put it that? Yeah, can we say it that way? But Christine is going through her own sort of turmoil right now because her mom is divorcing her dad. Annie is leaving Rex.
And at the same time, she's leaving the church.
Yeah.
So a lot of big life changes are happening. And Christine's still very young and very convinced that this is the life that they're supposed to be leading. And she did not see signs that Annie and Rex weren't happy together. So she's really taken aback by this and confused.
And then she was even saying like her form of rebellion was to lean into religion even more because Annie was leaving their religion. So how do you do the opposite of that? Well, let's double down and get interested in polygamy.
Can I tell you, I don't like the word rebellion as the way she describes this. I just feel like within the context of religion to be like, well, this is how I rebelled against my mom. It's retaliation. Let's call it what it is.
Okay.
You're upset with her because she's doing something you don't agree with. So you chose to do the total opposite thing because you view what she's doing as wrong. So you doubled down.
Well, and I understand the element of rebellion being kind of a form of control as well, because you can have the overt control of a parent that is very authoritarian, that's telling you what to do, and then you have to obey. There's like an obedience top-down sort of directive type of control. But then there's also the idea of Christine at this stage doing things that she wouldn't normally be doing based on her own decision-making process. It's kind of going off of reacting to her mom's decision, and then now it's all intertwined with that sort of dynamic now.
So it's not coming from a genuine place of, I believe in this, so I'm becoming more religious.
Right. It doesn't seem like that's the root of it. It seems like it's in response to her mom leaving. Christine is now extra interested in religion.
Which is unfortunate because it's not really going to help her marriage start off on a great foot, or at least that's how she's viewing it, is she's taking partial responsibility in how her marriage to Kody goes because of the fact that she's so focused on being pious.
Purity
culture. Oh my God. Like that needed to be its whole own chapter.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, and then like Kody was using this, well, not using it, but Kody was able to support Christine through this. She was struggling with all of this turmoil that was going on in her life, and she was able to rely on Kody to help her navigate these complicated experiences.
How did Kody go from someone who is picking up the phone and talking to people who, like, he's friends with Christine, kind of? They're not in a relationship.
I would say more than kind of. Like, they spent a lot of time together through events at the church and through youth group.
So then they're friends. He's married. He's picking up the phone to talk to her about something that she's struggling with. How do we go from that person to the person we see today who can't even pick up the phone to talk to his own kids?
Well, I think the switch flipped, honestly, because like this is Kody winning someone over. He's trying to go above and beyond. Christine isn't even part of his family. He's not trying to get her to be part of his family. He's just trying to impress her with how supportive and available he is and how great of a guy he can be for her in this moment.
Well, you know, everyone always points back to how Robyn pretends to need Kody to rescue her. I mean, maybe this really does play into a little of that. Not that I'm saying Christine's doing that purposely.
No.
But it could be that it's just appealing to that aspect of Kody's ego, that he likes feeling like he's needed by somebody.
I think that's a big part of it, actually. I mean, because then, yeah, what you end up with in polygamy is you have independent wives who are able to run a household by themselves and handle things on their own.
Most of them.
To an extent. I mean, well, in this case, too.
The ones not named Robyn.
The ones not named Robyn, and who aren't trying to fan the flames of that ego need that Kody has. So that can be seen as a form of rejection, where then Kody just distances himself even more.
So as they're having these conversations, she's looking at that like, okay, I'm seeing the character of this man, and this is looking like someone that I may potentially want to marry.
Because as we know, you can't date a married man. It's not respectful to do that. So Christine has to voice her interest to her father. Her dad has to take it to the church people. It's like a whole game of telephone of who likes who.
Sorry, I'm still thinking about the ego thing that we were just talking about, and how that makes so much sense, though, about how Kody was not really into Christine. I don't think that he was having those conversations because he had an interest in her in a romantic sense. This was feeding something for him, fulfilling something for him. And Christine caught feelings, and he didn't.
Yeah, it was like their wedding day was the big turning point that you could see, where it seemed like Christine was very aware that Kody felt like he was making a mistake. Christine thought that magically he would be interested in her as part of this wedding day because he really wasn't involved in the planning stages.
He was like, see ya on the day of.
Whatever you want, whatever you like, and just tell me where to be.
We knew so much of this, or at least pieces of it. And when we had to watch the lead up to Christine's wedding to David on the show, a lot of this stuff did get brought up about Kody having the 1,000-yard stare, but it hits different reading it in this book. You do really realize how much of a disappointment her first wedding day was.
And I mean, it was, part of it was just realizing that, oh no, Cody's not that into me.
The other part of it kind of is that she feels like she foiled her own opportunity at happiness through the fact that she was so pious in their courtship. The whole refusing to have a first kiss until they're at the altar getting married. And then the wedding dress.
Oh boy.
This was, to me, one of the most devastating reveals in the first part of the book is that monstrosity that Annie sewed looked exactly the way that Christine pictured it.
That was by design.
And we've been blaming Annie and saying Annie did her wrong. No. This was to a T what Christine asked for. She requested this. The JonBenet Ramsey nightgown was what she wanted to get married in.
She was sewed into it.
I just got so tired of hearing Christine talk about marrying David when we were watching it. And going back and reading this part of the book made me feel a lot more empathy for her. And it's not just that Kody didn't turn out to be the person she thought that she was marrying and the way that everything played out on their wedding day, but it's also where she was mentally and religiously that contributed to the wedding being the disappointment that it was.
I thought that the interesting part here too was that there was like this level of confidence that Christine had acquired by going out on her own, being independent a little bit from her family, from her parents specifically. She went to community college. She was living on campus with roommates. She was kind of doing her own thing and gained this level of confidence and self-worth through what she was doing. And then by going into this route with Kody and going down the path of marriage here and falling into polygamy as her next step in her journey, she seemed to really lose herself. This didn't sound like a constructive period in her life.
No.
The marriage to Kody and even that first year or so where she really, really lost a lot of the confidence that she had built over the past few years.
There were signs, though, like even the story about the proposal, about how he was just like, well, I guess I should ask you if you want to marry me. If you're going to marry me.
That was did that count even? Because there was no ring. I thought that a ring would be baseline minimum as far as what you would need for a proposal.
The sad part is all she really wanted was a romantic story that she could then retell to people. So he has to re-propose to her.
So he had to do a do-over. He had to try again where He waited for some moonlight to hit her, and then he gave her a Claddagh ring. That was the upgrade. That's the story that Christine was like, all right, that's better than just asking me in the living room casually in passing.
Man, what if they had just realized at that point, okay, we're not compatible? Because he's not giving her what she wants. And maybe if they had kissed and not saved it for the wedding day, which wasn't even a kiss, it was a peck that her grandpa felt the need to say, wow.
Never seen one like that before. Yeah, this is new.
No one clapped, nothing. They were like
just silent, awkward silence.
Just no chemistry. Everyone in the room must have been able to sense it.
Crickets.
But maybe if they had kissed beforehand, I don't think it would have changed anything for Christine, because I think she still would have been convinced that she was madly in love with him because she didn't know what feelings to expect.
Yeah, she didn't know
and
any
she
different.
Was the one who had a crush on him.
Right.
But I think he would have realized there was no chemistry there.
Would he have said that, though?
I don't know.
I don't think he would have.
The more we learn about this relationship, it does really feel like this was just a desperate attempt on Kody's part to bring anyone who was interested in joining the family in at that time because of the problems with Janelle and Meri.
It was not going well. But before we get into that, let's focus in a little bit more on
the wedding night.
The wedding night, which almost didn't make it into the book because on Christine's first draft, she had ended at the reception conclusion there, or the honeymoon disappointment, I think, the first honeymoon disappointment, when she was asking Kody, well, what do you have planned? And he was like, I don't know, whatever you want to do.
I planned the whole goddamn wedding. So did you plan a honeymoon?
Did you plan anything? Did
No.
you put any thought into this? Were you looking forward to this at all? No, not really. It was just kind of on my list of things to do this week.
Unbelievable.
Which there's another thing on the list of things to do this week for Kody.
We need to thank the women that intervened and told Christine that she had to tell the story of the wedding night.
Because you can't skip over this. This is very important stuff.
I, again, wish that we would have had a bigger conversation about purity culture, because she had this idea of what saving her first time was going to be like. And also was very naive that they were going to go from their first kiss at the altar to having sex in the same day. And that was just going to feel normal.
Totally fine. Not worried about it. Everything's fine. Christine's life can be summed up as the "it's fine" dog meme with the coffee and everything's on fire. Like that's
one of my favorite memes.
That is the summary of a lot of Christine's experience in her life, where she's just telling herself it's fine. And that was a realization that she's had later in life here. And as part of reflecting for writing this book, is that was something that she kind of told herself, even though things were absolutely not fine. The honeymoon trip and wedding night are great examples of things that are not fine.
He takes her to a motel shaped like a castle.
This felt like the Poconos. This felt like
a little bit. You think there was a heart-shaped tub somewhere in there?
This felt like the
a
Virgins.
Martini glass hot tub.
That Virgins episode that we talked about. It felt like that a little bit.
You like fairy tales, don't you? Princesses?
You're looking for a fairy tale wedding, Christine? I have a whole bunch of villagers ready to chase you down the aisle.
You got to watch the Let's Talk About It to understand that. Listen to the Let's Talk About It and watch. You have to watch the episode.
Then you'll really get the full effect.
Unsurprisingly, it was a huge disappointment. It's like the 8th time I've said disappointment, because
what did you expect?
Most of Christine's venture into married life has been one.
What's sad is she didn't expect much, and then she was still disappointed, because it was basically just, oh, I would like for my husband to put some thought into the day, to care about me and my needs, to check in with me too, and see how I'm doing, to not physically hurt me.
And maybe try to make the first time a little bit romantic, especially since he's had 2 other weddings. He's had 2 other wives.
He's experienced, allegedly. And,
Janelle keeps him busy.
The lady that he lost it to before Meri that he never mentioned to anyone until Robyn. Well, maybe to Meri too. He forgot he mentioned it to Meri.
She's still jealous about that, holding it against him.
So with that much experience, he should know.
He really went through this wedding day just going through the paces of everything that he knew he had to do. And this was just another thing to check off.
Well, we learned that foreplay is very important as long as it's for Kody.
The massages.
Not so much for Christine, because clearly the wedding night to just full penetration, you go from kissing to full penetration with nothing in between, you're not going to have a good time. That's a rough go, to say the least.
And not in the good way.
Not good. We're finding out Kody really enjoys a massage. Body massage.
Okay. The massage thing, I don't know why, but I believe that there is an episode of Sister Wives where I remember seeing massage oil on somebody's nightstand.
Oh, we're going to have to go back.
If someone happened to watch an episode recently and saw that or remembers this, it could be really any of the fucked up shows that we watched that I'm recalling this from.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling like it was Sister Wives. I'm going to be really disturbed if they let that stuff out for us to see.
It wasn't the remodel. Remember when they were remodeling the bedrooms and then they were going through and filming after, and then Robyn had the little neon sign on the nightstand, which great spot for that. Maybe it was in there.
Who doesn't want to sleep next to a neon sign?
I don't. No, thank you.
So he demands massages, or at least from Christine, but then does not give them in return because this is for him.
This is where it gets a little messy, because then we're talking about like the dynamics that were going on in the first year of their relationship too, where Christine is basically just getting poked and prodded here. She's not really enjoying things. It took her 2 years to have an orgasm, and it kind of happened by accident, which I would like to hear that story a little bit more in detail then.
All right.
How did we accidentally get there?
I know that we're all loving the reveal of Kody sucking at basically anything in the bedroom.
I don't think he was sucking anything. That's the problem. That's the problem, though.
You know what I mean? The fact that he's bad in bed really isn't a revelation for any of us. We've all kind of guessed that over time. But I'm going to say something, and it's not in defense of Kody. The fact that Christine had such a puritanical view of sex, I do wonder if that contributed to not having an orgasm for the first 2 years of their marriage.
Well, and also it's if everything that you have been told, that you have learned, that you've understood about sex is that it's bad. Now you're married, and then you have to flip the switch and say, oh no, this is good. This is okay. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. That's really hard to deprogram all of that out of you. That doesn't happen in an afternoon. And that's what her coworkers were warning her about. If you're going from kissing to having sex in the same day, that's a really big jump, especially if you've had no physical contact with anybody else prior to that, especially. That's very big.
We watched the Purity Talk episode. Was it like last week on the Discord?
Yeah, that was for the watch party last week.
All I keep thinking about is the fact that Christine said nothing during that. And that now this is what we're learning about what her first time and the first few years of marriage were like for her.
I mean, it has to be mixed emotions, to say the least, because did that really set you up for success to have a healthy sexual experience with your partner at that time? I don't think it did.
No, and then it's compounded by the very real possibility that Kody didn't really have any interest in her sexually.
That's what we were talking about. Okay, so like the thing that becomes clear to Christine is that there is a comparison point because they live in a 3-bedroom trailer. It's pretty tight quarters. The walls are paper thin. So you can hear what's going on.
And there's a lot going on in Janelle and Meri's bedroom.
Well,
nothing in Christine's.
So that was what got us thinking. Did Kody bring Christine in for a break night? Like, did he?
Right? We keep thinking that he's not into Christine, but
I think
wouldn't it be humorous if he wrote his autobiography and we find out that just Meri and Janelle were just riding him dry?
It was dueling. It was dueling banjos because
they hate each other.
They fucking hate each other. It was like Forgetting Sarah Marshall, where you hear what's going on in the other bedroom. So then what? Tomorrow's your night. Now we got to ramp it up. How are we going to outdo what you did with Meri last night?
He's exhausted. He needs just a peaceful place of solace where he can just get a good night's sleep.
He needs rest. Rest.
Solid 8 hours.
Fluids and rest. That's what this man needs, is what I'm suspecting. So get him some Pedialyte. Wish that would have been instilled in him a little bit earlier in the family history as well.
Right. We got to keep the kidneys pumping.
Get the fluids going. Keep the hydration going.
The garments. So we know about Mormon garments. Well, we don't really know too much about them because they didn't talk about them in depth on the show.
No.
We just have heard about them from the fact that this is a common part of Mormon culture.
Right.
She explains that Kody at some points would demand that they kept their garments on when they had sex. Not an all the time kind of rule, though. Just sometimes when he decided that he thought that that was right for this occasion.
Well, and then Christine's noticing a pattern where it's garments on, lingerie on. There always seems to be
something that has to cover her or separate them.
Yeah, something has a go-between. It felt like that scene in Arrested Development where Job is getting with Kitty and then he's coming up with different ways of lights off, hair up, glasses on. Like he's coming up with different scenarios to like try.
Testing things out and seeing if anything sticks.
Yeah, but like the main consistent thing that she's noticing is that there's usually clothes that are staying on Christine. And so she's starting to feel unattractive. She's starting to feel judged. She's starting to feel negative emotions about a lot of these interactions that are taking place where she just would cry herself to sleep.
I can't even imagine how difficult this would be because although comparison is the thief of joy, which is one of their mantras, how could you not compare yourself to Meri and Janelle when you hear what is going on in their bedrooms at night? And the thing that would puzzle me personally is that I think that Janelle and Christine seem to have similar body types. I mean, obviously they have clothes on, so we're not seeing everything.
Well, that'll mess with your head even more if you're Christine, because then it's like, okay, well, it's not just like a comparison point between Christine and Meri at the time of saying, oh, we're so very different. But then if you're saying, okay, that's a similarity there.
It's
so
not
then
like he has a type.
Well, and then so what's wrong with me? What is it about me? That's what she begins questioning here.
Yeah.
There has to be something wrong with me.
I just don't think that he really ever had the intention of having a marriage based in love with her. It was a marriage of convenience to solve a problem that he had and to get him some additional clout in the church.
And whenever Christine brings any of this up, we didn't have comparison as a thief of joy yet, so it was just Kody's lesson of move away from pain, move towards pleasure.
I'm trying. I'm trying, sir.
It seemed like that's what...
I would like the pleasure part of that. That's all she's asking for.
Well, and it seems like Kody is confusing pain and pleasure a lot now, too, either through what he's going through of ping-ponging back and forth between Meri and Janelle's bedrooms. He's starting to get mixed signals on pain and pleasure, too. He's probably some chafing that he's experiencing. It's not going well. Very unpleasant.
She had no idea that Meri and Janelle hated each other.
Before marrying in. Obviously, it became very apparent very quickly once you move into the house with them that, hey, they're not on the best terms, mainly because they can't stay in the same room together.
I don't know. How did she not go back to her grandpa and be like, so it turns out I was sold a bill of false goods, and these people are not who they presented themselves to be. Because also Kody is not the way that she thought he was. He's not an independent thinker because she thought that she saw him questioning things and that he would figure out his own path for himself. He didn't just take what church leaders said blindly. And then also he seemed like he was this fun guy who enjoyed life, but he's actually very serious and not all that enjoyable to be around.
Well, you would think that, yeah, some of that word has to get back to a few of these folks because eventually Annie does let the cat out of the bag as far as when Kody was asking for permission to court a fourth wife. There were a few different times throughout the OG3's collective, here as they started having kids and building out the family, that they were considering having a fourth wife join the family at the time while they were all younger, while they were still having kids together. So that was something that they could kind of do together. Annie was going around saying, I don't think Kody's taking care of his wives right now. And that's basically the word that gets around in the church. And the church leaders no longer approve Kody of courting fourth wives.
Another reason Kody hates that woman.
Oh, yeah.
She wasn't wrong.
She wasn't wrong, though. So that's a nice tie-in here. Maybe is that why Meri gets so upset, too, with the perception of being poor? There was that whole weird story about Mykelti.
It's the official falling out story between Meri and Christine that they have alluded to so many times and has been built up in the fandom as thinking that there was something physical that occurred, that Meri hit or abused or like
struck a child. Did you see that?
There are many forms of abuse. So it physically abused Mykelti or something. And now we're finding out what really happened. And it kind of seems like something most people would brush off, but I think it was the straw that broke the camel's back. There were so many instances of Meri pissing Christine off when it came to parenting her kids that was it for her.
Well, it's a long-standing issue that they had to deal with as part of exploring the disciplinary actions of parents and the kids. And this seemed like such a kid-type scenario of Mykelti not having enough money at a store. Probably, I think the way we decided this too was it was probably like a tax situation where like if Mykelti was buying candy or something and then the price that's listed is 70 cents and then you go up to the register, they ring it up and they say it's 80 cents. Well, now you're 10 cents short.
Which is what happened. She was 10 cents short when she got up to the cash register. Leon is with her on this trip for whatever they're buying. And the person who's behind the register knows them and spots Mykelti the 10 cents.
It's a dime.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. The cashier did not care. Let's be real. I've been a cashier. You've been a cashier.
Yeah.
How many times does this happen with not just children, but adults who come to the register? And you have change that you've just sat to the side from other people who refuse to take change from you when you go to give it to them.
And I have to balance the drawer. So I'm not putting this in the drawer. I'm leaving it up here.
And so when someone comes along and they're short a little bit, you're like, oh, good. I can now get rid of this money that I've had sitting on this register. It's literally got dust on it now. I can put it in here finally.
Thank God.
Works for you, works for me. Not a big deal. Well, Leon went home and told Meri what happened. And for some reason, Meri overreacted and got very upset.
They're going to think we're poor, even though it sounds like, well, first of all, you are poor. And then like, second of all, it sounds like word's already gotten out about that too. So it's not like this big secret thing. Like,
and
there's
it's
a lot
10 cents.
It's 10 cents. And then there's a lot of shame that's in that for Meri then too, of like, other people perceiving you as poor is the worst thing possible.
That has to be at the root of it, because this is not a big deal for a kid to think they had enough money and then they're a little bit short of what they actually needed. But she takes that anger out on Mykelti and decides that this is a punishable offense, which is part of the problem with them all parenting with Meri, is that Meri moves the goalpost on stuff a lot, and the kids are always getting in trouble for things, even things that Christine and Janelle wouldn't have punished them for.
Yeah, or like things that Christine and Janelle should hold the kids accountable for, but they don't really care. So I did like that one story, the memory that Christine had, where in her room at one point there was her bed and then there was bunk beds. And so there was one time where the kids were jumping off the bunk beds onto her bed. And so if she had walked down the hall and seen that happening, because she did see it happen, but if she had gone into the room per se, or if the kids had seen her, then she would need to step in and correct and say, no, don't do that. So she hid from the kids who were having fun jumping off the beds onto the other bed, and then excused herself.
Just let them be.
Just, you do you. Okay, just don't hurt yourself. Don't hurt each other, but have fun.
I mean,
sure.
Obviously not something okay with Meri, since Meri doesn't let them jump on the furniture.
Well, I wouldn't be psyched about that either.
It was something she harped on a lot in
But
becoming
look,
sister wives.
There's some lessons that you have to learn just by doing this. There was a trip that I was on in middle school one time where there was a hotel room. There were 2 beds, but there was a bunch of us piled in to the room here because it was just like, I don't even know how many people were in this room. More people. It was doubled up on beds, whatever. But we would jump back and forth from the beds, and then we broke one of the beds. It definitely...
Oh my God,
totally,
like Sammy's bed on Jersey Shore?
It collapsed. It imploded. And so then we crudely put it back together, and then we were told we had to move rooms because we had one of those, like, the shared doors.
The
and
adjoining
it was
room?
an adjoining room to another room, but that was a girl's room, and we were a boys' room.
Oh,
so
no good.
Purity culture, the 7th and 8th grade kids can't be in adjacent rooms that have a door, even though we could just walk out of one door.
So the other girls, did other girls get put in that room and then had to sleep in a broken bed? Is that where the story's going?
I don't know who got that room, but I was able to crudely reconstruct the bed, assemble everything, and I said, nobody touch this bed.
It's literally just going to fall apart.
Whoever
like dominoes.
looks at this bed or walks past it, bumps into it next, it's going to go.
And that's what Meri feared.
Yeah.
All this time, all her furniture.
That must have been it. It's a legitimate fear to have.
What about the story about how she would just blast country music?
Oh my God.
She didn't care what was going on in the rest of the house. This is the Lehigh house where they're all sharing together. Meri's upstairs. Sometimes Christine's trying to sleep. She's got a baby who's... Why are you pointing at me?
What song? What song do you think she played?
Oh.
What country
Achy
music?
Breaky Heart.
That is exactly the song that I had in my head for this. Oh, don't tell my heart, my achy breaky heart. That is the only song that came into my head for
I think
this
Janelle
scenario.
kind of liked it.
Janelle secretly
loved it.
She was like...
She hated Meri, so she couldn't admit it.
Yeah, that was it.
She loved the music.
She couldn't tell Meri, hey, you got a good thing going up there. I like what I'm hearing. Because then
we could go see Billy Ray Cyrus together when he's in town.
No. Yeah, we're not gonna do that. I genuinely believe that this drove Christine insane, as it would most people.
You have babies sleeping in the house. You're trying to get a newborn, right? You're trying to get your time to sleep in, and you hear achy breaky heart blasting from upstairs from the woman who won't let you use the staircase to walk through her part of the house to go over to Janelle's.
Wasn't Meri's section of the house branded as the museum, the library, the study hall, the quiet space where everybody could...
The amphitheater.
I guess so, yeah. Depending at what time of day you were there, I guess it could change in an instant.
I would have broken the stereo.
Yeah, I think a couple of power cords might have gone missing.
You guys got to get better at this. That's part of the downfall of their relationship, but also she's had it at that point because Meri says really demeaning things about her in front of other people. Like out of the blue, where they'll just be having a good time talking about the past, telling a joke, and Meri will just, out of nowhere, jab you with something.
We were having a good time. It was a good conversation. It was fun. It was funny. And then Meri takes it a step too far. There's always... one extra thing that she has to say that's just, it's a little too close to home. It's a little too real. It's a little too much
It cuts deep.
Yeah, it's like, and those are the ones that Kody's like, oh, I can't handle this anymore either.
I really think that's the origin of why a lot of the adult kids don't want to have a relationship with her. Is because you think that maybe you're having a good time with Meri, and then she'll do something like that.
Or she'll say something afterwards to someone else about something that you were doing, and then that makes you rethink your whole experience with her or what this exchange was about. Or
it's like psychologically very taxing.
It is. It's a lot of work. It's hard to keep up with.
And also, do you like me or do you not? Because you have a lot of nasty things to say about me sometimes.
The nastiness is over the top. But like the part of that too, Christine was hesitant to kind of bring some of this up because of there has been growth from Meri. She's not the same person.
She does acknowledge that.
Yeah. And like, that's why Christine's calling that out of saying, this is what I experienced at that time. We were young. We were like going through it all together here, no doubt. And if you talk to Meri today, that's not the same person who I was interacting with.
I got to tell you, I don't think that even though she put that in there so that we would all read it and then, maybe extend some grace to Meri as we're reading these stories from about the past, I don't think that that's going to be something that works.
It's not enough to offset.
Everybody has been wondering what it was about Meri that makes so many kids dislike her, that has had, why she and Kody had such a difficult and tumultuous relationship, why she fell out with all of her sister wives. She's trying really hard to present herself a certain way on social media with whatever salty birches is. We still don't know.
Still don't know.
If she's starting a podcast or the fact that she seems to want to be like a Mel Robbins wannabe.
I don't know
that your future is going to be able to be that if this is your past. And she's making it clear that she's not going to be writing a book and telling us anything.
Well, this is the part that gets me too, is leaving it unspoken, because this was the mystery of what was the falling out point for Christine and Meri. It was built up in everyone's heads. If you don't actually say what happened, people will come up with a scenario that's probably worse than what it actually was. So now I think it's done more damage as far as Meri's perception in the public by not talking about it and not addressing it earlier.
I agree with that.
So,
I think a lot of people probably felt like that story was a dud.
By the standpoint of
McKelty trying to buy a milk dud for 10
cents short on a milk
short. Not a big deal.
It shouldn't have been as big of a deal as it was.
Christine mentioned a couple of times in passing that Janelle could be kind of annoying and controlling too when they had to do a project. I want to know more. Say more. Because the Janelle that we see today never really seems fully engaged with the project.
Maybe it's just the more recent projects that she's been involved in.
Or maybe she mentioned something at one point about how Janelle would be like, I have a project for you. And then Christine would get upset because she had so much other stuff on her plate. So is it just that Janelle gets herself involved in something and then decides she wants to pass it off on other people? Because that was the vibe I was getting when Meri and Janelle did their Thanksgiving centerpiece project together when they were in therapy.
Let's even go more recent. Tata Farms. Let's talk about Tata Farms then in that context.
Okay, maybe she's more of a project inception kind of person and not so much the follow through.
She's a big picture gal. She's not so entrenched in the day-to-day sort of execution of these things. So she just pulls other people in to run with this stuff. Hopefully something will get done.
She clearly isn't going to trash talk Janelle because they have such a good relationship now. But there was something there because things weren't great between them either. She was closer to Meri than she was Janelle at the beginning.
Which, again, that is on Janelle for a horrible decision, because why on earth would you let the sister wife that you are in full out combat with recruit a friend to join in? You could have easily been outnumbered in this, and your life could have been made completely miserable if they ganged up on you for the whole time. Luckily, Christine didn't do that. She's not that type of person. But Janelle,
it could have gone that way.
You could have had a recipe for disaster here. I liked when Christine was talking about her pregnancies and where she was taking on the traits of her kids while she was pregnant.
It's because she has the sight.
Well, yeah, it's like
That's why.
It's a power.
I don't think this is an experience that all mothers have.
But also, is it just something that like you can kind of apply in hindsight as well?
I mean, maybe. I know you really enjoyed the part where she was getting violently ill when she was pregnant with Peyton.
Yeah, I thought that was applicable. She didn't say that was the thing, though. That wasn't the
her body trait. Was like, this one's too much like Kody.
He's resisting me.
They're just, I guess, the picture of perfection in their community. So Christine gets recruited to be part of Principal Voices, which we learned about last week.
In our
chapter. Final installment of Becoming Sister Wives.
Yeah.
Which is a nonprofit, or was a nonprofit group where different community members would go out and talk to the public or talk to the police department and try to, I guess, improve the public's perception of polygamy.
So this is where Tim Gibbons came in. The story is very similar to the chapter that we read last week.
Yeah, this is the inception of the show. And they get pitched this idea of, do you want to be in a docuseries about polygamy where we'd feature your family? TLC picks it up.
Leave It to Beaver, where Mr. Beaver has 3 beavers.
One which he neglects.
One he does not take care of at all.
And they said, we want 10 episodes of that. At least.
Give me a season so I can make an informed decision.
And if it bombs, you'll have some good home videos. Otherwise, you'll be criticized all over the world.
Well, we didn't talk about worst case scenarios. We talked about best case scenario. You'll have some great home videos to look back on.
She confirms for us that Robyn knew about the show from the beginning of meeting their family.
Which we all suspected, and that seemed to line up in the timeline. Even though Robyn tried to tiptoe around that, where she didn't know, or she didn't not think about not marrying Kody because of the show. Of course she considered not marrying him because of the show.
She saw dollar signs.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. This family, I think she was already kind of impressed. She fell in love with Kody. She was somewhat impressed with what they had going on. It was a hell of a lot better than what she had at home. They were willing to take on her and her 3 kids, and she was going to get a paycheck being on television.
It's not important to some people, Kody. It's important to all people.
Which means that Robyn is not the reason they got a show, because they were already pretty advanced in their talks about it before she came along. And this was like the cherry on top of this is going to be even better to follow, that now they're bringing in a 4th wife after all of these years of being together, just the 4 of them.
Which I guess the show was the reason then that the church was able to give this a thumbs up, because that solved a lot of their financial situation.
The church did not really give this a thumbs up.
Well, they were allowing them to court. Did they get that approval?
You mean
like him and Robyn?
Yeah.
Robyn
and Kody had approval to move forward in their relationship.
The church wasn't psyched about the show at all. No. Yeah, this is all bad news from that standpoint.
Which still is funny or ironic to me, because Principal Voices is part of how we got here. That's how they eventually ended up with this connection to Tim Gibbons, and then they get pitched this idea of being on this show. They did not go out and say, we would like to be on a reality TV show, please.
Yeah, they didn't seek it out.
Unlike Kim Plath.
Well.
Who put her kids all over YouTube trying to get a casting director to find her.
She was shopping it around. Do you think HBO regrets passing on it? Is that why they removed seasons 2 through 4 out of spite?
Hey, they got their cut of it eventually.
It just took a while.
Just waited. They had to merge the companies together for them to get it back.
Yeah. See? Ultimately, it's ours. Made the right decision in the long run.
I don't want to really retell the whole story of Robyn. We already know that Christine hadn't even met her, and Kody already had this testimony that she's supposed to be in the marriage and polygamy with them, which feels like a big manipulation, in my opinion, that you're already going to tell them that there's some divine intervention here, that this person's supposed to be in your family when the other wives haven't even all met her. And Christine's pregnant with Truly. Just not the ideal scenario or time to be bringing in another wife.
But it did pull them out of a lot of financial hardship. They were able to...
Who? Robyn?
All of them, because they were able to make these important...
No, but Robyn didn't pull them out of hardship.
No. The show did, because the important financial decisions, like buying a sports car for Kody and going to water parks. These are very important things. Well,
the water park thing. So once they get their paycheck from the show, the first season of it, which obviously you don't get paid a whole lot for the first season of something, they're excited they have just money to go to the grocery store and take the kids to a water park that they've been wanting to go to. That's what Christine's thankful for. And then Kody goes and buys that fucking sports car.
Ace's sports car now.
That's right. A very impractical purchase.
For a man who has roughly...
This is when Janelle's still driving the car with the duct-taped window.
Duct-tape window. Yeah, and for a man that has so many children and a family, to only have a 2-seater car seems wildly impractical.
He was always a selfish person.
Like, it's always been there.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
I think Robyn has just kind of fueled it, because she has this odd mindset around manifestation and attraction.
It's entitlement, though.
Yeah. And I think the two of them together are just a toxic combination that just fuel each other into thinking that the things they're doing are justified.
They don't just drive around and enjoy each other's company by singing Phantom of the Opera?
No.
No? You don't think that they could do that?
Christine had to clarify. I sang the Christine parts.
Well, obviously, Christine would sing the Christine parts. Clearly, she is the angel of music. We know. Voice of an angel, that one.
Should she drop her rendition of Phantom of the Opera? Do we need her Broadway soundtrack as a follow-up to this book?
Please don't, though, because it's like, I know the notes that are in there. Christine is
you
not
don't
a
have
soprano.
confidence she was hitting them.
She's
No?
not a soprano. What, no fucking ZD now?
Wow, we're really on a word association, aren't
Yeah.
we? He's going every weekend to hang out at Robyn's house in St. George, which I know we're going to find out that the kids basically stopped having a father at this point. This is where Kody becomes absent. Like the minute Robyn comes into the picture.
What I was expecting here was that I think Christine saw this as a temporary setup of, yes, you do need to spend time away from your current wives and kids to get to know Robyn and her kids because they are joining the family. But then she was expecting them to reach an equilibrium state again where you do split up the time evenly once Robyn joins the family. But that never came back.
I do kind of think Kody set that expectation.
I feel like that's
it's
part
just
of it.
because I'm trying to get to know Robyn and her kids.
This is a necessary evil for a temporary amount of time, and then it will get better later at an indefinite time.
And it never does.
Never.
Because she very nicely ends this part of the book by saying, but Kody didn't have a favorite wife.
At that time.
At that time, not yet.
Time.
So that's where we're going to get into with the rest of our reading here next week. I think we're going to start to drop some bombs about Robyn.
Not just lasagna loaves or
bomb lasagna.
Not just bomb lasagna.
Next week, we'll be reading chapters 13 through 28, or if you're listening to the audiobook, that's tracks 16 through 31.
Any other standout memories from this chapter? Or, well, not this chapter, this section, I guess, this portion of the book?
I was really pissed off by the story where all the wives did that photo shoot together for Kody as a gift. And then when he looked at it, the first thing he did was criticize the fact that Janelle didn't have any makeup on.
We did see those photos. Those were the long hair Meri photos out in the woods. I think those were those photos.
Meri with long hair scares me, and I just don't know why.
Why? Scary?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like it's the look for her. I know a lot of people do like the long hair. I'm not saying the short hair that she's got today is the final destination of where we should be between those two things.
I mean, her hair's better now than it has been. And at least we're not doing the Keith Urban anymore.
Yeah, we've at least progressed from there. But for a man who hasn't been able to shave his head for all of these years, he really is caught up on what his wives look like.
I think my standout point to like last thing to cover here would be the holiday assessment, where holidays are too pagan. So we have to do away with things like Easter and Christmas, but we'll replace them with fun Jewish holidays like Passover.
You know how I feel about that.
And as
I have the most disappointed pictures of myself as a 3 or 4 year old at a Passover dinner with my family.
Hey, I've experienced a Seder meal myself.
It's not comparable to Easter.
No, it's not the same thing at all. So to say that that's just as fun and we'll be able to swap it out, no, I can tell the difference.
Before we go, a few announcements. There's a lot that's coming to the podcast, so you got to be paying attention to know what's coming soon. Sister Wives is coming back September 28th. We'll be recapping that entire season here on Surviving Sister Wives.
And don't forget, Special Forces starts airing on Fox on Thursday, September 25th. We're going to be doing live watch parties on the Discord for it. So if you don't have Hulu or YouTube, something with live TV or a cable subscription anymore, go buy a digital antenna and hook
those
that.
bunny ears.
Yeah, get those bunny ears going. Digital antenna, though. because that'll pick up the signal over the air for free. You don't have to pay a subscription for a Fox app.
Yeah,
Don't
let's
do that.
not be investing a lot of money in this because we don't know how long Kody is going to last on this show.
1 episode, 2 episode. Keep your receipts for the digital antenna.
I'm netting out at, my guess is 3 episodes.
I think 3 is probably a good spot to be.
I think that would be a long run for him.
That's safe.
And we'll be recapping that here. We're expecting that we'll be dropping those episodes on Saturday, but we're still kind of figuring it out.
Friday for the Patreon, because you get every episode early and ad-free if you're over on the Patreon. Don't forget that. And then we also have our other podcast, Surviving Reality, where we're recapping Plathville. Welcome to Plathville. Coming up on the end of the season here. That'll be finishing out.
The big fight is finally going to take place at Lydia's wedding.
Lydia and Zach's wedding.
And then we're going to be recapping Seeking Sister Wife, which is back at the same time as Sister Wives.
Boy, that's convenient.
We're really getting our fall of polygamy and polyamory this our fill? Did I say our fall?
Our fall of?
Our fill this fall.
Oh, wow. Well, that's hard to say.
And Garrick's filling holes of his own.
And also, that's not all the Mormons we have. It's Real Housewives of Salt Lake City's coming back, too.
You know, those weren't the ones I was thinking of. I started thinking about Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
That's
which
not November.
Not till November.
Yeah, that's coming back a little bit later. But Real Housewives of Salt Lake City will be doing, I keep forgetting what we're calling these.
An after party.
An after party. So they're live on the Patreon. You don't have to be a paid member. So just make sure to sign up as a free member, and then you'll get the email alerts when we go live.
Thanks for listening. See you next time.